Here, Inevitable China says probably the most cringe shit I've ever seen. And I gotta agree, man. I did not feel good watching this video. And, you know, I was watching it from the perspective of trying to give it a chance. This shit was not good, man. Here someone says, Jesus Christ, this is insanely poor taste. I have to agree. Here, a woman with an incredibly interesting username says, imagine being brutally murdered and DaBaby makes a music video about your death weeks after it happened. I'm weirded out. So a lot of people aren't liking this. So DaBaby right now is getting dragged on the internet for releasing this music video where essentially it's based on the story of that Ukrainian woman. She was 23 years old. Her name was Iryna Zarutska. And by now, unless you're literally living under a rock or just came out of a coma this morning, you know about this situation where this woman was brutally murdered on a train by a deranged man. A black man. Truly horrendous stuff. And so DaBaby, he decided to drop a music video commemorating, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like it's using this story. The music video even starts with a news clip of the footage, the security camera footage.
This is video surveillance of the
from the actual attack with the actual victim. This is the music video we're watching right now.
Blue line at the East-West
That's the music video you're hearing.
You can see she takes a seat directly in front of DeCarlos Brown, the suspect. At first,
and then
nothing seems unusual,
you know how
but
this goes.
4 minutes later, he pulls out what appears to be a pocket knife and suddenly stabs Zarutska multiple times.
Yeah, bro. Truly, truly evil stuff. So after that clip plays, the actual music video portion of the video begins, and it's essentially a recreation of what happened that night. However, instead of it ending with Iryna being tragically murdered, it ends with DaBaby stopping the assailant. That happens in this scene of the video towards the end, where he grabs the hand of the man who is holding what I suppose is supposed to be the knife, but really looks like, I guess it could be a piece of metal, but it looks more like plastic to me, to be honest with you. But okay, allegedly, the tool that was used was a knife, an actual knife, and not whatever this is. Here's the moment leading up, and then he grabs her hand, and the music video pauses for a while, and then they all walk off the bus together. Like DaBaby is guiding him, and they walk past the police, right? He's not arrested. There is no actual justice, because even if it did go like this in real life, that guy needs to be put in prison. In fact, the reason why this happened is because this man is a perfect example of a man who actually belonged in some form of, he needed to be separated from society. Apparently, he has been to jail or prison multiple times. I heard upwards of 14 times. And so the fact that he continued to be released, even though he was clearly not a stable individual and he was a threat to society, they kept releasing him. That aside, in an actual ideal situation, this guy would still be held accountable for attempting to attack somebody. But DaBaby just has the video end where he walks off the train, and then we have this very bizarre shot where all three of them are sitting together as if these were two people that were having a dispute, and DaBaby came as the voice of reason and stopped it, and now they can just sit together and be peaceful. And if you actually listen to the song, because of course I've watched the music video, it doesn't even sound like a song that was written about this situation. This was not on like some Joyner Lucas type shit where a story is actually being told. It almost feels like DaBaby wrote a song and then used this, like the lyrics of the song in some places kind of matches thematically an aspect of this situation, and I guess he used that as enough of an excuse to make this visualization go with the music video. But it's so clear the music video was not written for Iryna. It wasn't written to talk about this situation in any meaningful or significant way. And then people who are actually distraught And angered by this act of violence, this woman, this innocent woman, lost her life tragically for no reason at all in an incredibly violent way that I wouldn't wish upon anybody. Definitely not innocent people who are just going about their day. I can see how this video is incredibly triggering because as the video goes on, we follow this person, this actress who is supposed to be Iryna, and she's walking towards the train just like she would have on the actual night that it happened. And so as you're following her, all of the emotions, the anxiety, the anger, they start from the actual event, which literally just happened. It starts to get activated. And the entire time throughout this music video, the guy who is supposed to be the murderer, this guy, he's being depicted as, yes, someone who is mentally unstable. And we know the guy who did this shit, he was literally certified clinically mentally unwell. He has schizophrenia. He was already, this is truly a failure of the state more than anything else, because this guy really should not have been let out. But throughout this video, this guy, he's kind of depicted as someone who's going through some kind of internal torment, like he's depressed, he's suicidal, even that kind of a sad energy, which is not what we saw in the video. In the video, we saw a guy go from seemingly normal, more or less, he's just sitting there, and then out of nowhere bursts out into this horrendous act of violence. And then he acknowledges her race after committing the crime. He says, "I got that white girl," or something to that effect, which instantly makes the attack about race. That is to say, if it was a black woman sitting in front of him, he probably wouldn't have did it. Or at least that argument can be made. Of course, that angle is currently being exploited by people on the right, who are trying to now use this to say, see, black people are dangerous, when the statistics clearly tell us that white on white violence is the greatest threat to white people. 80% of violence that happens to white people happens at the hands of white people. We speak about this statistic all the time whenever we cover topics like this. And so, of course, that's nasty that they're doing that. But that aside, it doesn't take away from just the sheer gruesomeness of this crime, nor does it erase the fact that, at least for this person, his intentions seem to have been influenced by race, motivated by race. And so when the climax results in this, where this guy gets up out of his seat and DaBaby grabs his hand and then they just walk off the bus together like everything is cool, I can see how that's incredibly, to someone who is truly emotionally affected by this. And of course, I think it's despicable, it's horrendous, it's sad. But there are some people who are incredibly fucked up over this. I can see why they would not like it. I could see why they would not like it. And boy, oh boy, is that coming through on the likes to dislikes ratio, currently sitting at about 25% dislikes approximately. That's a 75% like total on the video. That is terrible. That is a huge sign that a lot of people do not like this video. The average YouTube video, it sits between 95 and 100% likes. That's to drop down to even 95% likes means that, you know what I'm saying, some people didn't like your video, man. It was controversial. Drop down to 90%, okay, you were really saying some controversial shit. But once you get below 75%, I mean, it's really saying a lot. And the comments speak to it as well. Now, it's interesting when we take a look at the comments. And before we look at that, just so you can see the outrage for this, and some of that is in the comments. But of course, if you really want to see how people feel about something, you know where you got to go. This tweet says, "What if passengers stepped up to save Iryna? Rapper DaBaby asks just that in harrowing music video linked to her GoFundMe, recreating the brutal murder, but with an alternate ending." Yes, that's also something we should mention. This video is currently number 6 on music trending chart, by the way. He did include the GoFundMe to her, well, her GoFundMe, the link to her GoFundMe. So, you know, there's that, but let's see what people are saying in the comment section. Well, here's a screenshot of multiple tweets by people who don't like it. Pitchfork's already out calling for the rapper to be canceled. Insensitive? She's asking, or this person RT, which I think is a Russian company, is asking if this is insensitive. Never seen someone get double canceled before. People are saying this is a second cancellation of DaBaby. Somebody getting fired. Wow. You can delete this and apologize. Donate to Ukraine and her family. We as a society left you in 2020. We don't want you. Damn. Cancel him. Good Lord. Here, Inevitable China says probably the most cringe shit I've ever seen. And I gotta agree, man. I did not feel good watching this video. And, you know, I was watching it from the perspective of trying to give it a chance. This shit was not good, man. Here someone says, Jesus Christ, this is insanely poor taste. I have to agree. Here, a woman with an incredibly interesting username says, imagine being brutally murdered and DaBaby makes a music video about your death weeks after it happened. I'm weirded out. So a lot of people aren't liking this. DaBaby cooking up the worst possible music video right now. Yeah, man. So that's a lot of the sentiment that we're seeing online. And if we take a look at the comment section of the video, you can find similar things. Here, this user says, I don't know how to feel about this. On one hand, DaBaby is bringing attention to an issue in America, black on white crime. Again, the fictional issue that guys like Charlie Kirk have brainwashed millions of white people to believe is an actual issue in America. On the other hand, the video is all fiction. She didn't get saved. And that's actually a legitimate part in the end. Yeah, that's nice to say that, oh, if the right black guy was on the train, that right black guy being DaBaby was on the train, she would be alive. But that's just not what happened. She's actually dead. People are actually mourning. It actually just happened like yesterday. And so this is, I just don't know how this is going to make anyone feel better. Imagine being this woman's brother or father. How is this music video going to make you feel better? So why did DaBaby make this music video? Well, on top of the fact that clearly he was trying to capitalize, and I'm not saying that with saying he did it maliciously, but capitalize on a current event, something that a lot of people are talking about right now, to put out a song and get people listening to his music, right? There's that. I'm sure DaBaby also thinks that it's incredibly sad what happened to this woman. It's a tragedy and it was terrible. It never should have happened. But I actually believe DaBaby did not make this video for white people, because it's mostly white people that are going to be infuriated by this video. I don't like the video, but it doesn't make me mad. It's kind of cringe, but it doesn't get me angry. There are people who are actually incredibly angry with this music video. And a large portion of those people, I believe their anger is coming from the fact that the way this story has been politicized, going back to what I said earlier about how the right has turned it into political propaganda to villainize or demonize the image of black people, something that white America has been doing since the slaves were freed, and even since slavery as well. But as soon as they could no longer own us and make us work for free, they immediately and ever since then have been on a massive campaign to demonize and criminalize us. That's how you get comments like, you know, this video highlights a real problem in America, black on white crime. Literally only 15% of white people that are murdered by black people. The grand majority murdered by white people, and then the rest are Hispanics and, you know, some Asians. In essence, this is as much of a crime or as much of a problem, black crime on white Americans, as white Americans on black Americans are. Now, we can acknowledge it's actually slightly worse in the direction of black crime on white Americans. 15% of white violent deaths come at the hands of black people, whereas only 10% of black deaths in the form of homicide comes by the hands of white people. And of course, there are very logical and rational reasons for that minor discrepancy, but the main thing to focus on is it's a minor discrepancy. So if you don't think that there is a white on black crime problem in America, then there isn't a black on white crime problem in America, because the numbers are very similar. We're talking about a 5% difference here. But these people are getting angry. What's happening is this man has now become the face of black hatred. A lot of people on the right, especially the far right, are using this as an opportunity to say, look, black people are dangerous. They cannot be trusted, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. There's a problem with black America and black Americans. And so on top of the fact that this music video just objectively is not good and was done in poor taste, on top of that, the story that DaBaby tells in this video also robs white conservatives, especially the ones more towards the far right. It robs this situation of the only useful thing to come out of it for them. And that is the pushing the narrative that black people are bad, dangerous, evil. If this was not a rap music video, but a country music video, and instead of it being DaBaby saving this young woman, it was a good old country boy, those very same people who dislike this music video, even if it had all the same outcomes, they would have loved that video. However, I really do believe that in that storyline, the guy goes to jail or prison, as he should. But what I just articulated is also the exact same reason why there are some people who really like this music video. Yes, it has 25% dislikes or thereabout, but it also has 75% likes. There are a lot of people who really liked it. You know, usually when something comes out and it's just really just garbage and gets hate bombed, usually, yeah, 75% likes is bad, but you know, we are used to seeing videos with 10% likes, 25% likes, 30% likes. So there are a lot of people who are liking this video. And I think the people who like this video, well, of course, you're going to have DaBaby fans. People are just diehard DaBaby fans. There's that. But I think a lot of black people especially really appreciate what DaBaby is trying to do here because, one, he humanizes this man. He's no longer just this evil, villainous monster, but he's a man with mental health problems. And let's not pretend like that's not what the right does. Whenever there's a mass shooting, just like the guy who assassinated Charlie Kirk recently, his race does not matter. It does not come into account. When they are talking about it on the news, they don't mention that he's white. They don't talk about his whiteness. They always make the issue about mental health. It has nothing to do with gun laws. It has nothing to do with white culture. It has nothing to do with conservative culture. It's all about this individual being mentally unwell. They humanize him. Notice no one on the right is talking about Tyler Robinson. No one is calling him evil, a monster, a sick individual. I mean, sure, there's some who are calling him a crazy person who was indoctrinated by leftism, which is what they're saying. And of course, this has not been proven, although it's possible. We're still learning more about the situation. But I've even heard Republicans talking about forgiving this guy because that Charlie Kirk was a Christian and Jesus tells us to forgive, and that's what they would have want. You would not gonna hear anybody talking about this guy should be getting some forgiveness because that's what Jesus tells you to do. You're not gonna hear that about this guy. He's an animal.
I forgive you, Tyler. You're not gonna see this, I know, but I just wanted to let the world know we need to forgive him as well. God's grace is for everyone, even the murderers. And if he does not repent, we both know where he's going.
Loving our enemies does not erase the pain, but it keeps hatred from ruling in our hearts. So here's a challenge. Instead of feeding the cycle of rage, pray instead. Pray for the families grieving, pray for justice, and yes, even pray for Tyler's heart.
Bro, are you seeing this shit? They used AI. This is supposed to be Tyler right here. Do you see this shit? The title of the video is Tyler Robinson and Charlie Kirk Forgiveness. This is supposed to be Charlie Kirk giving Tyler Robinson a hug. Do you think they would have made this if he was black? Come on, man. Are we serious right now?
We need to pray for Tyler Robinson. As rough as that may sound to you, the fact is that he can't escape the human element and the ramifications of his actions. But we, as believers, need to pray for this misguided, this messed up kid. And I know, 22 years old.
And so I think a lot of black people appreciate DaBaby humanizing him the way how white people humanize school shooters. But the other reason why I think a lot of black people are appreciating what DaBaby was trying to do here was he is saying, hey, a big narrative going on is this woman was stabbed and nobody did anything to help her, right? And there were about 4 to 6 other people in that area of the train, all black, a mixture of men and women. And this woman basically died by herself. She just bled out sitting there. Apparently it took like 2 minutes before anybody tried to help her. Now, in all reality, this is actually a very common phenomenon. It's known as the bystander effect. Whenever there are multiple people around and somebody needs help, the more people that are around, the less likely anybody will help them. It's incredibly weird. I promise you, if it was only just one black person on that train at that point in time, they would have rushed to help. Probably not while he was attacking, because the attack also was very quick. He did it very quickly. It's not like, I don't see a world where DaBaby could have actually stopped the attack. It was very quick. It went from 0 to 100 instantly. So this is how the bystander effect works, right? It is a psychological phenomenon where individuals are less likely to help someone in need when other people are present. Essentially, the more bystanders are there, the less personal responsibility each person feels to take action. This can lead to situations where no one intervenes, even when help is clearly needed. Of course, this is not going to be said on Fox News. This happens all the time. It's not just because they're black. It would have also happened if they were white. In fact, we've seen that. We've seen white people getting attacked, white women getting attacked around white men, and they don't do anything about it. But to make it even worse, you now have to add back in the component of race. You're a black person, and here we have a blonde white woman who was just murdered by another black guy. She's bleeding everywhere. She's bleeding out. I mean, remember, this is the same country where a white man from Utah killed Charlie Kirk and HBCUs had to shut down because they were getting threats from angry white people. Black people had literally nothing to do with that situation. But there are like 7 black people in Utah altogether. And yet HBCUs in other states had to shut down. Black people have been made the scapegoat for white pain forever. And so you can see how, as a poor black person, you don't want to be anywhere near this chick when the cops show up. You trying to help, all of a sudden you in jail, you're in prison. I'm not saying it justifies the fact that nobody helped her, but to ignore that that is a reality that was created by white supremacy and racism. You can understand how that, combined with the bystander effect, could lead to people not acting. And so I think what DaBaby tried to do was represent those black people who feel like there is a narrative being pushed that black people are cold and callous and wouldn't help her, in part because she's white, or they're just black people in general aren't nice people, aren't helpful people. And so DaBaby's trying to say, no, there are people who are black who for sure would have tried to do something to either stop the guy or help. I know for a fact there are a lot of black people from this city who think to themselves, man, if I was there, I would have tried to help her. I'm sure there's a black nurse, a black doctor from that city who'd be like, damn, I wish I was there. Maybe she would still be alive. And so DaBaby's also trying to represent them. That's why I said I think this music video was actually made for black people. And so those are all the angles I'm seeing in regards to this situation. But ultimately, I want to know what you think about it. Have you seen the video? What do you think? You guys already know how I feel about the video, and now you know all my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. So please put them in the comment section down below. Hey, since you're here, go ahead and check out the last video I posted this morning where we talk about a racist pastor who has black people in his congregation, but is preaching that white people have a responsibility to teach their children to stay away from black people because they're so dangerous. It's crazy. It's nasty. It's based on lies. And we absolutely debunk him and eviscerate his argument. So go ahead and check out that video. It's coming up on the screen right now. Till next time, peace out.